In today's class, we are going to discuss about MCQs on Phillips curve which are expected to appear in UGC NET exam. We'll start with the first question. Phillips curve sets up the relationship between, we can look at the options, taxes and inflation, inflation and unemployment, money supply and aggregate demand, price and cost of production. So we know that when they are just mentioning Phillips curve, they were actually talking about short-run Phillips curve, which is given by A.W. Phillips, which has been developed in 1958, which gives an inverse and stable relationship between rate of unemployment and rate of inflation. When they actually started to establish Phillips curve, they started off with an inverse relationship between rate of unemployment and money wage rate changes. Later on, they re-established into an inverse relationship between rate of unemployment and rate of inflation. So with that, we know that there is a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment, which has been cited by A.W. Phillips curve in his Phillips curve. So the answer has to be option 2, that is inflation and unemployment. Moving on, so these are some of the explanation for Phillips curve which you can go through, where Phillips curve gives, this is the shape of the Phillips curve. At the highest point, you can see that there is high inflation. At that point, there will be low unemployment, and as we come down the Phillips curve, there is a point where there is low inflation and there is high unemployment, which we can summarize that any attempt or any effort to reduce the unemployment will only put pressure on prices. It will only result in high inflation. The vertical line, that is the natural rate of unemployment, that vertical line which is parallel to that of y-axis shows the natural rate of unemployment, and any effort to reduce an unemployment rate from that natural rate of unemployment will result in increase in inflation. Okay, this is what Phillips curve is all about. We will come to this. So the answer has to be 2. Next question, which has appeared in 2014. Which of the following is not a characteristic feature of Phillips curve? We can look at the options. Price expectation are adaptive. Unemployment rate when money wages stabilize is 5.5%. Price expectation are static. There is a loop around Phillips curve. Okay, so the question is a negative question which says that which is not a feature of Phillips curve. So first of all, starting with expectations related to Phillips curve. So they have just mentioned Phillips curve, that means it is A.W. Phillips curve, short-run Phillips curve they are indicating, right? So first option is price expectation are adaptive. So when we know that according to Phillips curve, price expectation are static, which means that wage and whatever wage price relationship, they can predict it, and they are predicting that on the basis of previous year inflation rate. Suppose this previous year there was 10% inflation rate, or inflation rate was 10%, and people are saying that it will be same as that of previous year. So 2021, they are making an expectation. They just take up the same inflation rate that was there in 2020. That is same 10% will be carried forward to 2021. That is called static expectation, where they are forming expectation and they believe that the future inflation rate will be same or equal to that of previous year's inflation. That is what A.W. Phillips curve assume. Okay, so we know that A.W. Phillips curve has a static expectation. So that price expectation or adaptive option is wrong. We will move over to the second assumption or characteristics. Unemployment rate when money wage stabilizes is 5.5%. So according to Phillips curve, A.W. Phillips curve, short-run Phillips curve, there was a tendency of natural rate of unemployment to rotate around 5.5%, which was found on the basis of time series data of UK between 1961 to 1957. He found that unemployment rate always have a tendency to stick towards this 5.5%. So that is also correct. Okay, so the second option is correct, and third automatically is correct. We know that price expectation under short-run A.W. Phillips curve is static, not adaptive. Next option, there is a loop around Phillips curve. Yes, that is also a correct characteristics which comes to this slide, where UN is the natural rate of unemployment, and you can see that any effort to reduce unemployment from that point A to B, you can see that the inflation rate have increased from B, C, D, E, F, and this forms that inflation Phillips curve is shifting to the right, to the upward, right? So there forms a loop. You can see that from A, B, C, D, E, F, there forms a loop, a circular loop, a clockwise loop has been formed where there's a shift in Phillips curve. So any effort to reduce unemployment will put pressure on price, leading to inflation, which creates a clockwise loop for Phillips curve, where Phillips curve shift to the right, upward. Okay, so that characteristics is also correct. So the only thing here is not a characteristic of Phillips curve is that price expectation are adaptive. It is not adaptive, it is static. So the answer is 1. Next question, which has appeared in 2012. A.W. Phillips wage inflation unemployment trade-off is based on. So it's kind of repetitive question. So A.W. Phillips curve means we know they are talking about short-run Phillips curve. And we know that according to A.W. Phillips curve, it is static expectation hypothesis is the answer. So there is this expectation hypothesis which you have already studied. These are some of the expectation hypotheses. Static expectation, as I already mentioned, they form the expectation which, and they predict that current value will be similar to that of the previous year value. Adaptive expectation, where economic agents, they tend to form the expectation on the basis of what has happened to them in the past. So they are not just taking blindly, not taking up the same percentage. They are just considering that, okay, 2020 there has been an increase in inflation, so they are expecting that in 2021 also there is going to be an increase in inflation. They are not just taking the same amount of 10 percentage, they are not taking that, but they are forming an expectation based on what happened in past. That is adaptive. They are adapting what happened in the past. Rational expectation is the base for all the economic theory, where they believe that economic agents are rationally expecting, they know everything, right? Economic agents, they make the decision rationally by collecting all the informations, and they make a very good decision, that is for self-interested decision, which will always result in full equilibrium kind of situation, right? Which has been questioned by many of the economic sciences like behavioral economics, where they have said that human beings or economic agents are always not rational. They do make irrational decisions, leading to market failures, right? Coming to the next type of expectation, that is extrapolative expectation. Extrapolative expectation is where they form an expectation about future value based on recent value. They feel that gold price is going to go up for sure, looking at the value of the recent value. So they are predicting the future with the help of recent values. These are some of the expectation hypotheses that will be useful for you. Okay. So the answer will be 1 here, where A.W. Phillips curve wage inflation unemployment trade-off is based on static expectation. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statement and choose the correct answer. Okay, so Phillips curve, first statement. Phillips curve is an inverse relationship between rate of unemployment and rate of inflation in an economy, which we know that they are talking about short-run A.W. Phillips curve, which is correct. Right? There is a short-run trade-off between unemployment and inflation. B. Eagle's law observes that as income rises, the proportion of income spent on food falls. So we need to know what is Eagle's law. Eagle's law is where it's an economic theory where they say that as income increases, the income allotted for food will actually decrease. Okay, and they will reduce the consumption, or they will spend less on food, and they will try to spend more on luxury goods. So that is what is Eagle's law is. So coming back to the question, that option B is also correct. So both the statement are correct. A question which has appeared in 2012 question paper. Which of the following is not a feature of A.W. Phillips curve? So they are talking about short-run Phillips curve, which is not a feature. So again, it's a negative question. Non-linear relationship between unemployment rate and rate of exchange in wage rate. So we know that that is true. That is a feature of A.W. Phillips curve, right? Because their relationship, there is a trade-off between unemployment and rate of exchange, which is not a linear function. It's non-proportional. It is inversely related. Yes, that is true. That is a feature of A.W. Phillips curve. There is an anti-clockwise loop around it, which is not true. right? We know that there is a loop, but the kind or nature of the loop is a problem. It's not a anti-clockwise loop. It is a clockwise loop that forms when there is a shift in Phillips curve leading to more inflation. So any effort to reduce the unemployment will increase the inflation, forming a loop with a shift in Phillips curve. So that option, second option, is not a feature of AW Phillips curve. It is a clockwise loop that forms around Phillips curve when there is a shift in Phillips curve leading to inflation. So that is not a feature. Still, we will go to the third option. Wage inflation unemployment rate is predictable. Yes, it is predictable, and according to AW Phillips curve, it is static expectation. Through static expectation, people are predicting wage inflation unemployment relation. Going to the next option, Phillips curve shifts when expected rate of inflation shift. Yes, that is also true. That is why a loop is forming, right? Phillips curve shifts when expected rate of inflation. As inflation goes up, Phillips curve will also go upward, right? So there is a loop. That is why there is a clockwise loop happening for AW Phillips curve. So the answer will be 2. Next question, which has appeared in 2017 UGC NET paper. If actual unemployment rate is below the natural rate of unemployment, it would be expected that. So we know that there is a natural rate of unemployment which sticks around 5.5% according to AW Phillips curve. Now we are telling that if actual unemployment is below this natural rate of unemployment, as I said, any effort to reduce the unemployment from its natural rate will only put pressure on price, right? So the answer is very direct here, which is a kind of repetition that I have been doing so far. The rate of inflation would increase. Okay, so next answer will be 1. Next question, which has appeared in 2018 paper. The relationship described by expectation-augmented Phillips curve is correct in which of the following? So they are actually talking about expectation-augmented Phillips curve is brought by Milton Friedman, and Milton Friedman had a monetaristic view on Phillips curve, which is completely different from that of AW's short-run Phillips curve. He is considering a long-run Phillips curve here. Okay, he said that the Phillips curve is going to be vertical and it's a long run, and in long run there is no trade-off between inflation and unemployment, which is completely opposite to that of short run AW Phillips curve, where there was a trade-off between inflation and unemployment. When it comes to monetarist view, Friedman's expectation augmented Phillips curve, he said that it's a long run Phillips curve where there is no trade-off between inflation and unemployment. So the answer has to be 1, that is only in long run. Expectation augmented Phillips curve is a long run Phillips curve. If they are just mentioning Phillips curve, they are actually indicating AW Phillips curve, short run Phillips curve. Okay. Next question, which has appeared in 2016. Monetarist disagreed with Phillips curve analysis. That is an assertion. Monetarist, that is Friedman, in his expectation argument in Phillips curve, he disagreed with short-run Phillips curve. Yes, that is true. We need to know the reason. Why he disagreed? The reason is there is no correspondence of percentage of inflation rate with percentage unemployment rate. Yes, he said that he is disagreeing with Phillips curve, short-run Phillips curve, because he feels that, or he found that in long run there is no trade-off between inflation rate and unemployment. So the assertion is correct, and the reason for this assertion is also true. So the code has to be both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation for A. Next question, which has appeared in 2015. Which of the following is correct? Concept of natural rate of unemployment. So Phillips curve believes that there is unemployment and that there is a natural rate of unemployment. They are different from classicals who believe that there is no unemployment and there is full employment. But there is unemployment according to Phillips curve, and that unemployment constitutes 2 kinds of unemployment. They are asking what are the 2 kinds of unemployment that constitute that natural rate of unemployment. Options are frictional and structural unemployment, frictional and cyclical unemployment, structural and cyclical unemployment, frictional, cyclical and structural unemployment. Okay, so the answer here is frictional and structural unemployment. So according to Phillips curve, there is a natural rate of unemployment, and there are 2 kinds of unemployment that is included in that natural rate of unemployment, that is frictional and structure. You know what is frictional unemployment, right? So when workers are in search of work, that search period where they are temporarily unemployed is what we call they are frictionally unemployed. So you move from one job to another job, you quit a job and go in search of another job. The time period that you are unemployed temporarily is what we call frictional unemployment, which is like a normal natural rate of unemployment which you cannot avoid. Structural unemployment also happen where there is a mismatch between the demand and supply of labor. The supply, that is demand for labor, is that is employers are asking for something, some key skills or some kind of ability they are looking for in the workers that is not there in the workers. Okay, so there is a mismatch between poor match of workers ability and skill with the current requirement of employees are not finding the right person to work on because workers lack skill and ability. This classic example can be found when the introduction of computers were done. Most of them did not possess the skill of computers. So in between the time period where they could acquire the skills, at that time period there was structural unemployment when the whole structure of the economy was changing. Okay, so the answer is 1. Next question, which has appeared in 2015. Consider the following statement about Phillips curve. So it's just Phillips curve, and make sure that you read complete question. Okay, first statement is inverse relationship between rate of inflation and rate of unemployment. Economic behavior is a function of nominal return. Economic behavior is a function of real return. Now the question is not finished. You see, they have given the at the end of these statements which are true from monetarist point of view. Here is where we make mistake. We just read the first line and we look up the options and we feel that, oh, it's just Phillips curve, so it must be shortened Phillips curve. So we will go with A. 1 is the option, 2 is the option, 1 and 2 is the option, and we will click option 2. Right, so that is where you need to be very careful and read the whole question. The question is about monetarist point of view, not just the normal Phillips curve. So it is Friedman's expectation augmented Phillips curve they are talking about, and we know that under Friedman's expectation augmented Phillips curve there is no trade-off between inflation and unemployment. So the statement 1 is wrong. It cannot be the answer. And according to monetarist point of view, they feel that economic behavior is real returns, not of a nominal variable. So 2 cannot be the answer. 3 is the answer. Only 3 is the answer for this question. This is a general mistake that we often make without reading complete question. Okay, so the answer has to be only 3. That is option 4. Another question which has appeared in 2018 regarding Phillips curve, that NAIRU means rate of unemployment for which the change in rate of inflation is 0, rate of inflation which makes the rate of unemployment 0, rate of inflation for which change in rate of unemployment is 0, rate of unemployment which is equal to the rate of inflation. So all of this when you read looks almost same. So first of all, what is NAIRU? Natural rate of unemployment. So there is, from the expansion itself you can understand that it's some kind of rate of unemployment. So it is a rate of unemployment. That means option 1 and option 4 is the only one valid here. The other one, 2 and 3 are talking about some kind of rate of inflation, which cannot be the answer because NAIRU is natural rate of unemployment. So the option 1 and 4. And we know that under Phillips curve it's vertical and it is parallel to the y-axis. So one has to be moving and another one has to be 0. So it cannot be equal. Rate of unemployment and rate of inflation is not equal. Unemployment, when there is any effort to change the unemployment, inflation changes. That is what we have seen in Phillips curve. So natural rate of unemployment is that rate of unemployment where inflation is 0. Okay, so the option has to be 1. Okay, so with that we will wind up for today.